gentle salve for the wounded, a pillow for the weary soul. They only hope for some broken hearts. His time, He'll make us whole, 'cause we're healing, healing, healing in the hands of time. We're all healing, healing, healing in the hands of time. He's taken us all on a journey. He knows exactly every inch of this road. If we could only see farther down it, we would know, as He knows, that we're all healing, healing, healing in the hands of time. We're all healing, healing, healing in the hands of time. If it's much too big today to handle, just hand it all over to Him. Father Time, Master of surprises, will surprise us once again, 'cause we're all healing, healing, healing in the hands of time. We're all healing, healing, healing in the hands of time. Healing, healing, healing in the hands of time. We're all healing, healing, healing in the hands of time. Healing in the hands of time. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Very nice.
So at the card party on Friday, something rolled out of Papa that was just really cool. And he said,
No, I didn't give birth to anything.
he said, it's amazing when this group of people prays for somebody, how dramatic it happens, and how oftentimes the person who's being prayed for can tell almost to the minute when the prayer was said. There's been different times that Mom was home with a migraine or something like that, and at the time that we prayed was when the exact moment that her headache broke. And she's like, dude, you know, yeah, we're praying for you. She's like, around 11? Oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. But there's been a lot of prayers over the course of the last couple of years of having connections, and we've sent out a lot of prayers, and there's been a lot of them that have been answered in ways that were pretty, dramatic is the right word, but just pretty wild. And so because of that, when we were looking at prayer this week, and of course we were saying prayers for the expediency of a birth, or the ease of a birth, or healthy, happy mamas and babies and these things, and we put a lot of stock in prayer, and I know that most of you do too. And so when I started looking at what is prayer, how does it work, how does this all work, and I started to look at prayer and almost break it down a little bit to see how prayer is really, like, a lot of folks think about prayer as being this really simple thing because even kids do it, and it's very, very powerful. And it's really the culmination of everything. Like, one, we're alive. Because we're alive, we can have individual thoughts because our spirit is contained in an individual container. And so it first is a celebration of the gift of life. The next, the gift of free will, that we can choose what it is that we want, or that we're hoping for, or that for ourselves, for other folks. Next, the gift of intention, to be able to intend this thing as well as energy, as well as giving and receiving. There's so many components that go into prayer that are our own creation or co-creation combined with that of God. As human beings, we're finite. Even though we're huge, powerful spirits inside, we're still humans. And so on some level, we say, well, gosh, you know, I've done everything that I can do on this thing. Once it reaches past that line of what I believe I can do myself, that's when I call in the big guns. That's when we go to prayer. And I remember about a year ago we were having some get together here, I forget what it was, but there was a big hurricane that was coming. It was boiling, just bearing right down on us. There was a group, I don't know what it was, probably 20, 25 people that night, and we just started praying that it was going to, you know, weaken, and it was going to this, and it was going to that, and it was going to turn, and before it got to the coast, and it'd be, you know, not the Hurricane 3 or whatever that was out of the ocean, but like maybe a 1 or a tropical storm or something, minimal damage and all these things. And we started the evening with that prayer, and by the end of that evening, we turned on the Weather Channel, and sure enough, it had veered, and it turned, and it slowed down, and it weakened, and by the time it hit, what, Mississippi or something like that, it was like just barely a hurricane or a Category 1 or tropical storm, something like that. The damage was real minimal. And the point is that prayer really, really works. And I remember when I was on the Indian reservation, I was working with some medicine men and just really cool guys. And it's been the same thing when I've worked with different ministers. And I say, man, they say, I pray all the time, but there's not much seems to happen. And when you seem to pray, stuff seems to really shake loose. What's going on? And I said, well, I just expect it to work. And it brought me to some biblical passages talking about the strength of the believer is the strength of the prayer. And it doesn't have anything to do with us as I'm a believer, and because I'm a strong believer, some righteous thing. Instead, it's when you expect it to work. There's a different vibration, there's a different tone. When the youngins are here and Mary says, Parker, take out the trash. And she doesn't really expect him to. He doesn't really move either. And it doesn't matter how many times she says it, Parker, take out the trash. Please, take out the trash. Will you go take out the trash? Right now, take out the trash. She doesn't expect it to work. That kid's not disconnected from that keyboard. The instant she expects to have a result, Parker, the trash, now, please. As soon as she expects it, sure enough, that kid gets away from that keyboard, go take out the trash. And it's the same thing that we set for ourselves. When we say, I'm trying this thing, whether it's develop a spiritual gift, a different career, a relationship, health, any of these things, we can walk through the motions because it's what we're supposed to do. It's what we can see to do. Or we can actually expect a result. Now, as human beings, we can dial that down because we let our past try to predict our future. But when we tag team in the big guy, we tag team in God, now all of a sudden it shatters that glass ceiling because through God all things are possible. So if I pray and I expect it to work and I do my part, then it's like Wile E. Coyote rocket booster, we need to getting stuff done. Now the other thing with prayer that's really cool is it's got a safeguard on it. How many times have we prayed for something that in hindsight we didn't want? I'd have probably been, gosh, I don't know how many times I've been married if different prayers would have come true starting when I was in about junior high. And thank goodness none of that answered. I would still be at X, Y, Z job if those prayers would have been answered in the way that I could envision at that time. I really want, Lord, I pray that this happens and this happens and this happens so I can feel more comfortable in this job that I don't want. And thank goodness those prayers weren't answered. Instead, they were gentle nudges into this other direction of stuff that I really wanted. There's a safeguard to prayer. We pray for other folks and we pray for healing, we pray for so many things. And really high percentage of the time, it works, and it works really powerfully. The other percentage of the time, it wasn't supposed to just then. There was something else that needed to happen to get us to somewhere else. As we're reminded right now with Mary about to deliver my little daughter, that there's a cycle to life. But our spirits are eternal. There's so much of this reality that we can really only view through hindsight. And in hindsight, we can say, oh, I can see exactly how that prayer was answered. I'm so thankful that prayer wasn't answered. And this one here actually led me in a whole different direction. Because prayer, especially with this group of people, because we actually expect it to work. We believe that God is real, we believe that God is powerful, we believe that God hears us, we believe that we co-create with God. We believe that if we ask, it shall be given. Because in this group of people, the power of prayer is so absolutely profound. Not in an out there, in theory kind of way, but in a right here. We hear it, we see it, we feel it, and we feel its effects. We can see God through those actions. We can see God through those miracles. And because of that, when Mary and I were talking about today's service, what we felt guided to do was to absolutely unleash that power for each and every person here. Everybody here has something, as that one song says, healing in the hands of time. We all have something that we're healing from. We all have some direction that we're going to. We have these things that we want to accomplish or we want to be more of, or whether it's inside of us or outside of us, whether it's financial, whether it's relational, whether it's travel, whether it's living a dream, whether it's financial abundance, no matter what it is, we've all got stuff that's really important to us right now. And we're all walking down our path to get to that place that we want to be. Well, if through the collective energy of this group, tag teaming with God, we can fill each other's sails to where those journeys are so much easier. So much easier, then why not do it? I know we do it every week to an extent, but in a very specific way. So what I'd like to do is turn the time over to everybody, to anybody who has a success story of how prayer has worked, something they've witnessed, or something that they'd like help with, something they would like to be prayed for, and then unite all of the energies here, anchor with God, and say that prayer specifically for each of us. I know there's a lot of things in my life that I would love to have faster, easier, better, blah, blah, blah. I know I've got things from my past I'm trying to let go of. I've got things towards my future that I'm reaching towards, things with my present that I'm trying to develop. We know where we spend our days in our minds. We know what's important. What do we think about? What do we find ourselves wanting and working for or stuck in? Well, as a group and with God, we can do things that we simply can't alone, or so much easier than we could alone. If I have to move a mountain, I can do it. It's going to take me a while, and it's probably not going to be a lot of fun. If we all come together to move that mountain, it's going to be a lot easier. If we all come together and God helps, the mountain's going to be moved before we know it. Because the things that are big to us aren't big to God. So to have that power, that love, in our corner, playing for our success, pulling for our success. Why not utilize it? Why not activate it?